det du som skal lede det?
Nei,
Nei.
Det jeg som skal
Ja. He was wondering who was...
Hi, I'm going to be hosting. Thomas.
Så du
And
filmen?
how do you say your
Jeg har sett den et par ganger. Hei, forresten.
Jeg gjør det. Men i Lillehammer går bra. Både i Lillehammer før i 3 år. TV på Jeg har bodd ved sykehjemmet.
Da har det blitt noen forskyvninger i programmet. Jeg beklager så mye, men nå venter vi på at han siste filmskaperen skal komme på plass. Der kom han inn døren. Så da tror jeg vi egentlig begynner. Dette er da en DokFokus, som vi kaller det, som blir da en samtale-debatt. Vi får se hvor temperert det blir. Som da er ledet av ordstyrer Åge André Breivik. Så da vil vi skal velkommen og gi han en applaus. Så skal vi
I'll just start. We're going to do this in English because we have English speakers with us. So I'll start by welcoming you all to this panel discussion on how far documentaries can go before we stop calling them that, documentaries. So we can just get our panel up on stage, and you can come and sit on the couch. Let's see who comes first. We have David Kinsella, eager to get up on stage. He's the director of The Whisperers that some of you might have seen yesterday. Have a seat. And we have Tommaso Mottola, the director of Karenina and I, that we just saw here. And we also have Henrik Bastiansen, who is a professor at the Faculty of Media and Journalism at Volda University College. You got the seat in the middle. The interesting thing, I guess, is to see what these three gentlemen, where is the limit to a documentary? What can we do in a documentary? And so I figured I'll challenge you, David, first, because there's an old definition of documentary. It's the creative treatment of actuality. It's almost 90 years old. So if I give you 1 minute, how far can we push that creativity before we have to stop calling it a documentary?
Well, I started in Norway as, I think I've lived in Norway longer than I've lived in Ireland, and I was here as a press photographer. And I remember I won the Norwegian Press Photographer of the Year, and the next minute my editor said, David, no, now we have to, you can't enter so many competitions because the people in the newspaper don't like your success. And that was, for me, that was so typical in Norway. Apart from the Norwegian Film Institute, the only people I found in Norway that said, David, please be creative. And I read, you apply to the Norwegian Film Institute, if you read what they actually want, changed now with Arne and Høydeparti, but if you read what they wanted, they said, our job is to develop the form of film and not status quo. And that's what I've done. I will never give you a film that you've seen before. I will break the rules every single time. But I have my background in real people, so I use real people, and I tell my stories, I listen to them, and I turn their world into my world.
And that's kind of a creative treatment of a minute, also. Tommaso, what would you say would be crossing the line?
Well, I had to cross a line this time a lot, but following a rule that it's not crossable. You need to follow the thing you are documenting, whether it is a person or a subject. You have to surrender and follow and wait. So this is a permanent rule when you document. In the case, I don't know if you have seen the film, of following the work of an actor and enter into a play and enter into the role that this actor will have to perform was the main task. But what is critical and special in this experiment I had to face was that I had, in a way, to develop also the antagonist, as in any film. Also, documentary needs an antagonist. The bad guys of the oil company can be, or whatever. In this case, it's Anna Karenina, and it's a fictional character. So there I had the challenge to how to give the audience the feeling that they meet the antagonist. And that was very special because I was working with a person that is constantly into fiction, an actor. She has to find anything that is needed to develop a human being that then you feel on stage is a living person. So the fiction is so constantly there, and my task was to organize the two levels. And but generally speaking, I used Tolstoy, a line from the Tolstoy, and I switched it to filmmaking. I don't want to prove anything. I just want to film, make films. He says, I just want to live, and to cause no doubts to anyone but myself. I think we have to be honest, and if the fictional or the documentary search, you have to follow it, because this is also documenting what you think. It's part of our job.
Okay, so we heard from two filmmakers. Henrik, a more academical angle, maybe?
Okay, can you hear? Yes. Where is the limit for documentary films these days? We have seen an artistic portrait and an incredible story. Two very interesting filmmakers sitting here, this side of me, and all the films on this festival. They are asking, where are the limits? Is there any limits? Should there be? I think that today the limits for making documentaries and the creative space, creative possibilities is greater than ever before. You can really do everything you want in a documentary. And the history of documentary also shows a vast possibility of vast possibilities for being creative. John Grierson's definition, creative treatment of actuality, points on that in the 1920s and 30s. And what they did with the documentaries at that time was staging the scenes in the documentary film. They were creating the pictures and putting shooting scenes in a film studio, even if it should end in a documentary film. So the history of documentary film has this creative element from the start. And today we see a lot of new ways of utilizing this creative space in the documentary. So is there any limit? It's difficult to say, but I think that somewhere, if there should be any limit, I think it's about to it will involve the film's contract with the audience. Each film has a kind of contract with the audience. This is a documentary, it's not fiction. So if a film challenge that contract, so in a way that people in the audience doesn't believe it any longer, then the film has some problems. The credibility of a documentary film is what we discuss here, in my view. So perhaps somewhere there, the contract and the credibility, perhaps there is the limit.
So you've seen both these films. You've seen The Whispers and you've seen Karenin and I.
Yes.
Was there a time in any of those two movies where you thought, wait a minute, this is not a documentary?
No. I think that both are documentaries and look at them as documentaries, but both are using the documentary film in a very creative way. An artistic portrait in Karenina and I, with her work with this role and with her inner life with this role over a lot of time and towards the performance in Vladivostok. So it's a much creative work to give them to follow that and make it on film, I think. But it's not, in my view, challenging the documentary as such. It's possible today to be very, very, very creative. In The Whisperers, I think that when you see it, you think at first that, oh, is this what's happening? Oh, and you follow and you have a lot of surprises. At the end, we can ask, oh, but this must all have been staged. This must have been happened. If this is a documentary, it must have been happened before and then reconstructed, all of it. So the people have played themselves in a reconstructed history. And even the Blue Eagle, he has to be an actor because he was dead before the film shooting started. So that is a very interesting way of mix. But I still think of it as a documentary in this very wide sense.
So now, this is the way he interpreted your film when he saw it. He says actors, or possibly actors and reconstructions. There are a lot of coincidences in your film.
No actors, not one actor. Everybody's real. It is real Blue Eagle. It's the problem I had with the film. I had this character, this Sami, in the mountains, didn't know anything else apart from her reindeer world, which was like a fairy tale. And you're living in this world where they're telling me about their spirits that talk to them and actually can lift them up and throw them out of the area that's not their family's area. You know, this is Lord of the Rings, but it's real. So you're starting with, you know, the idea of being a film director, you're starting with something that is beyond belief. Then you find this girl that says, no, I should not have been working with reindeers. I should be a star in High School Musical, my favorite TV program. That is what I should do. And then she says that, you know, my name is Ellen Sarah Spark Larson. Spark, it's like a sparrow. So I think I was a sparrow in my former life. So me, as doing some good research, I went in and I found this tribe in Arizona that has this story, fable, that they've had for hundreds of years about the crow and the sparrow. I found this boy who is a real singer and songwriter in San Diego that wrote a song called Nature Boy, which tells about how he loved nature when he was young, but then the commercial world took that away and it wasn't cool anymore, which was exactly the same story as Ellen Sarah. So I have the boy-girl, I have the story of the fable, which means that if she doesn't change her ways, then she's going to be lost. She has to learn, she has to grow up. So then I decided, okay, I have the fable, I've got her dream. She did apply to America. I talked to America, and as a film director, I needed to give her something different. I needed to give her her dream, for her to understand how fantastic her world in Norway with her reindeer actually is. So I did it. So I was the fairy godmother and said, okay, let's give you your dream. It wasn't scripted. There is no actors, none of them.
Okay.
It's real Blue Eagle.
But
It's real Jack.
Okay.
You can Google them and you can see them. And in the end, I had to give her that choice and that world for her to be understanding how great the world that she has. And in the end, it worked because she actually decided, now I've seen that world, and High School Musical is not for me. My reindeer world is for me. I got what I wanted.
But the thing is, you sign a contract with the audience, right? You say this is a documentary, and then part of your audience is sitting there thinking that this at least must be staged, might be reconstructed. Do you have a problem with your credibility as a documentary filmmaker if that happens?
No, because being a filmmaker is being a psychologist. It's how can you tell your story in a creative way that people can relate their own lives to the film you've made. I just got a little letter given to me a few minutes ago from a member of the crew here. It's like, this is a woman that she just watched your film yesterday. She needed to give you this letter about the movie, and I was reading. It was wonderful. She really looked at the film and said, this is something that's important for us. Enough of these sad people being killed, blah 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 films. Let's give us something that we can have a good feeling in the end. And the end, I wanted it to be. I let her be in her film. Even the main character, one of the main characters, Jack, the guy with the guitar. He actually even said in the film, he says, I've got a story to tell you, Ellen Sarah. I have this woman that is spiritual, and she told me when I was 16, I'm going to meet a girl that's going to change my life forever, and she's called Sarah, and she's a songbird. It's all true. It was not made up. It's really, this is the Twilight Zone.
But can I ask you something? I interpret your film that this has happened before you start filming, and the people are reconstructing this story so that you can put it on film.
No. It happened, when you make a documentary, things change. It happens the way, it took 7 years to make.
Okay.
Characters change. She goes from being 12 years old, where she actually can see and talk to her forefathers and the ghosts. And she comes to 15, and she's going to a Norwegian school, and the commercial world has said, nah, that's not cool anymore. You have to be one of us. So then she stopped hearing her forefathers. And my job was, okay, now this commercial world is taking away this fantastic culture that she has, and I need to use my creativeness to show her how great her world actually is. And in the end, it worked. But they're all real. It is real Chief Blue Eagle. He is from that tribe. The fable at the start is real. And I actually said, okay, that fable means if she's going to carry on like this, she's going to be a mindless slave. So I have to put her through a journey that is going to change that fable. In the end, she knows and decides herself what's right and what's wrong. And as the film says, cherish what you see, love yourself, and decide for yourself. And that's why we have the mirror in the film. And it's, I break the rules. It's hard being a creative documentary filmmaker. I'm the bad boy. And everything I make's the bad boy. And even now, I've finished the film from North Korea. They don't like me in North Korea. And it's even more crazy. Kim Jong-un gets a bullet in 14 minutes in the film. So you can see I'm very popular when I go through airports. These women shaking their hands in the air.
So if we get you, Tommaso, you speaking about real and authentic and everything that we kind of connect to documentary, you have two characters in your film. You have Görel and you have Anna Karenina, and they are both in the same shape.
The same person, yeah.
Yeah. How do you do that balance? How do you, as a director, do that?
I planned very little before shooting the film. The draft was just about, in a way, a train movie, a road movie on a train, following an actor, an artist, challenging herself with a big task of learning Russian in a month and a half and staging the most important icon of literature for the Russian, in Russia, in Russian language. This is the storyline for, the main storyline for the one who hasn't seen the film. This was my plan, but I knew that I had also to deal with what is in the title, Karenina. It's the biggest word in the title, and the contract with people, since you mentioned a contract, is what kind of film is a film where there is a title of such an important literature icon? It means that they want to see also something about Karenina. I cannot just don't think of it and work only on an actor job and to show how challenging it is and how difficult and how beautiful it was also about the other character, Karenina and I, so two people in the title. So I only planned that I had some, let's say, to make it very simple, fictional scene when she runs dressed like Anna Karenina in Venice. She walks looking for her love, Vronsky. They had 6 months in the story of Anna Karenina. They live in joy and beauty in Venice. I had some moments in Russia, in the Solovki Island, where she's dressed both as Anna and as Gerrit Mauset, and you don't understand the limit. When she becomes Anna, it's a fragment, but it's a matter of style, and I put this many times in the film just to start to give to the audience the feeling that there was a fictional. And the earliest to do these things, the better is, because there, the first 5 or 7 minutes is when the deal with the audience is set. If you forget this very important rule, then they get lost because they don't understand. But if you give the audience in the very first minutes of the film, it's like a child, newborn, to life, and they get everything that you give them. Even if it is silent movie with only 1 minute image, they get it and they enter, if it is well done, of course. So I knew that I had to deliver something of the fictional, a book. But then the film has changed so much. He mentioned the fact that in the documentary, the time frame of the work, it's difficult to define. I thought this was a train movie. The girl going from A to B, from Murmansk, from Venice, wherever, to Vladivostok, staging and premiering the play, and that's it. But and this was done in 2013. At the end of 2013, I had everything I needed for that project. But following the process of editing, since I had the chance to edit, to shoot also the entire play, staging of the play, which is a magnificent experience for me as a director, to have the chance to be every day with 3 cameras on many actors developing in an unknown language. Both Norwegian and Russian are unknown to me in that period. So can you imagine when I start to edit, I need to translate everything to Italian or English. Then it comes clear to me that I have a lot about Tolstoy's story here. There is a beautiful play. I cannot close my eyes and say, I don't care. I just care about, and people probably want to follow what I can do of this beautiful juice of art, because it was a work of art, this play, and deliver something special. So theater enter, and this is unexpected. I spent 1 year to understand first, and then organize. I will go again to Russia just to portray more of the staging, because she's invited to restage, luckily. So I have the chance to go back and shoot closer. I picked the scenes that I understand they are very important. It's 27 scenes. I only choose maybe 12, the key scenes, and I use them, I start to use them in the dramaturgy. So I organize the material, instead of being the film of the road movie, which are the most useful to start your career, because they are so easy. You just travel and you have a gallery of character and something will happen. But there it was a task to face Anna Karenina. So I go back to the script and I have to reorganize the dramaturgy so that I place the scenes of the play and the storyline of Anna Karenina in order. I cannot switch and do whatever I want. I have to follow, and this is a big task for me. But this is only a small part of what will happen. Because, don't forget what I said at the beginning, I had to follow the main person in the film. And the main person was showing more and more a sort of a obsession about Anna Karenina. A real obsession. You know, when an actor is spending more than a year or two, and that was already 3 years with Anna Karenina. First on stage for a year, and then 2 years in this process of the film. I started to feel that she's like, the obsession was growing instead of being smaller. When Geril, you have seen the film, you know the end of the film. It's a skiing, incredible, amazing take. That happened by chance. She called me 7 months after I was almost ready to start my process, the first process of editing. And she said, Tommaso, please come. You are in London, but you need to come now immediately because there is a midnight sun and I want to be here with you, with the camera and the camera operator and shoot something about Anna Karenina. We dress her on the tundra. We do only one take. I don't know why I'm there. I filmed this scene, and it's incredible. It's the image of the poster. You see her skiing away, and she creates the rails of the train. Now, this I discovered a long time after. But when I see this image, I say, what should I do with this? I have a film about a girl going from A to B. It's about theater, maybe. It's about acting. But why and how I can include the snow, the skiing, this crazy image. Long time after, when the obsession grew, Geril started to say, I want to go back to my north. I want to give to my child the north that I had experienced. The story of Anna Karenina is the story of a ruthless person that loses everything because of that, because she cannot find the strength to fight or to understand her condition, because she had lost mother and father, lost any connection. She's the one who destroys families, like the ruthless person are. So I think it's important. I'm so different from her, and I need to have this together. So let's go north. Okay, Michał Leszczylowski, a master in editing, started his career with Tarkovsky, and have done Lida Forever and Fucking Amal, and many other films with Liv Ullmann, and a lot of theater. Talking Russian, he says, comes to the north. He comes to the north and accepts to live this crazy winter in the darkness for 3 months. And he says, you must do the monologue outside, and let's dig more. It will be 2 winters before we enter into the very end of the search for the main character, because the obsession was still not clear. Why? Why are you still crying when you, in some scene? What is with that? There comes the confession. I ask her, almost the edge of the editing, let's stop, I will interview you. Again, in darkness, I want to learn more about your past. I will tell you some words and you will talk. And let's see what happened. There comes the story of Geril Mauset that was absolutely unexpected. I had to follow the actor. I had to wait until something was happening.
So we do have 2 fresh examples of films that obviously have elements that are staged. And there's no doubt about it. You planned which places you were going to stop, I guess, at least some of them. And you've staged some of the meetings. But we know that if we go back to, like even going back to Nanook of the North, which is one of the first feature-length documentaries, he lost all his raw material in a fire. It all went up in flames. And he went back and he filmed the same film with people with fake names and fake events. So what is the difference between those early documentaries that we now see as kind of staple documentaries and and what you guys are doing now, which we now call creative.
What I would do in that case, follow the guy who wants to do this crazy project to redo everything and film him. It's more interesting to understand why you want to redo. What is in that?
And that would probably be a better film, maybe.
No, well, I had 160 hours of film. It's made as a documentary. You know, I put people in a situation and film it and see what's happened. There was nothing that was scripted. There's, you know, they went in a situation and let's see what happens. And you know, it's really, really difficult working with documentary because you're working with real people. And the problem is that Ellen Sarah in the film, she called me her little father. And of course she treated me like her little father. And she stopped listening to me. And it became a nightmare. Because she's real. And of course she's going from 12 into 19 and she changes. And of course, that's what's fascinating with documentary. You're working with real people. They change, they go a different direction, and you have to follow them. You have to give the respect to the person that you have in the film. And I think, but you know, in many ways, I find it's a little bit of a paradox, because you can come with. I work with a project now with Cannes, the winner of Cannes, and it's real, a real story, and people go, "No, that couldn't be real." And they say, "No, you have to make that as fiction because nobody would ever believe what has actually happened is real." So I'm making a book. Said, "Okay, if you think it's fiction, then I'll make a novel. I'll give you 400 pages, and I've got it. And it's just started, but I've got my publishing deal already for the book. So then I'll get the book made, and then it'll be sold." And then I'll do the screenplay. Then I'll make the documentary.
With reconstructions.
Oh yeah, and I'm playing myself.
Okay. But reconstructions have never been kind of a problem. But is there a problem if there's a reconstruction? We're going to open for questions from the audience in a little bit. So if you have any questions, just get them ready. But is there a problem if a reconstruction is not labeled as such in the film? Henrik, maybe.
Yeah, perhaps. If I think that also has something with the contract with the audience. If people are looking at a film or a television program as a documentary, they expect it to be some way over real. But of course, we don't have, for instance, a lot of historical events on film. So in historical documentaries, there is a lot of reconstructions. There was never a camera there, but we see and we understand implicitly that this is staged today to reconstruct what happens because they didn't have images of it. So I think, and very often it's not a text reconstruction on the screen when the pictures are shown because we understand it. But if a film blurs the distinction totally between reality and fiction, then we are reaching what we are talking about now. How shall we interpret this? I interpreted your film. I understand that it was wrong, but I interpreted it as a documentary with real people, not actors. But I interpreted it when I saw it 2 days ago as a story that had happened between these people before the film was shot, and then that the rest of it, what we saw, was reconstructions of what had happened before. So that was my interpretation of it. They are real people, but they are now reconstructing what they said, the situations, the travels, all, to making this film.
No, I followed. I actually, this is the situation. I followed them. Yeah. You know, and it's respect for a documentary. It's respect for the audience as well. You know, when she cries, she's real. And it'd be terrible. People look at a film and all they can think of the film was, that was it. There was acting there. Oh, that was that. That's not the point. The point is telling a story, a universal story. to the audience where they can find something in the film that maybe they can think a little bit different in their life and change it. You know, we're put in this world to help others and not help ourselves. And thank God, you know, everybody's good at something, but not everybody finds out what they're good at. But I found out I can tell stories, and I can tell stories in a way people can question themselves and maybe change their lives for the better.
So maybe if we have a mic to pass around to the questions, maybe? Do we? You can just give the mic to the first one who has a question. And then I just want to challenge you two filmmakers. In one sentence, can you tell me what we will never see in one of your documentaries? Like what kind of a thing or a staging or what kind of elements will there never be in your documentaries? Where is the limit?
I haven't reached that limit yet. You know, as I was saying, I went to North Korea to make a documentary. They brought in 1,000 extras. The whole government came in to make me produce kitsch documentary, a North Korean documentary. I used their rules to make my story of changing everything that they were trying to do with me. I said, okay, I'll use your rules, I'll be smart, I'll make the film in my way. And it's total fiction, but it's a North Korean documentary because nothing is real in North Korea. And I said, okay, if you think I'm stupid, I'm not. I made the film, I brought my ghosts, I brought my upside down flowers, I actually filmed in the way, all the backgrounds, and they said, we can't see you're doing anything wrong, David, but we think there's something wrong. So I did all these wide shots, and then I came back, and then I painted the fairy tale, the story, in animation in the background, with Kim Jong-un and the two wolves, and you know, they decided the rules. I went there saying, okay, let's give them a chance, and let's make a documentary. They didn't let me. You get the camera behind the mirror in your hotel room. You've got the microphones. You know, it's Twilight Zone.
That's a long sentence. Tommaso, what can we never see in your documentaries?
I would choose this. I hope to never be boring, first of all, but second, to be direct. That's my task. So when we talk about truth, I think the most important thing is that you need to trust in yourself that you have something to say that is true. Then the task is to make it clear, to make it understandable, but most of all, that has a resonance, like a sound in your stomach. So there comes the moment where I feel it's a successful passage of a message, a true message, or an untrue message. This is a bit scary for me, this discussion, on a way. And I believe also for some of you, because this thing of putting palisades and limits, it's also maybe not really so interesting. But I wait to hear from you because I have something more to say. I'm a festival director. I screen every year and I see maybe 2,000 films every year before I screen. So I would like to continue on this.
We can open up for a question from the audience, maybe. Is there a question?
Are you students in medias, or what is your, you will be directors, or are you already?
It's a bit of each, it seems.
You can snakke norsk.
Perhaps I can start with a question to the directors here. It strikes me that both of you are describing your work of these films, and very much of it has been created in the post-production. So can you say something about how much can you plan of such a documentary before you start filming? Because the story are changing while you are filming. And what you said that most of the film was created in the post-production.
I reopen the production. I shoot again. So yes, the process of writing a story, it's a lot about editing. And with documentary, this is growing more and more. Let me say something about my experience as a film festival director. It's growing and growing, the attention for documentaries. In a way, documentaries are also entering cinema since many years, with success sometimes, but they are there now. They are recognized as films to the normal audience that doesn't really get into this real or unreal. They just go to see a movie, and if it is the film about music, the Social Club, I forgot the title, of Wenders a long time ago. It was a documentary, but Buena Vista Social Club. It was a documentary, but people lived it as a film experience. Today, you mentioned the war times. In 1920, the First World War, we understand that we have 1,000 hours of shooting. Then there is another war, and there is more shooting in film. But try to imagine what happens with the Gulf War, with the many cameras, and now today with the mobile phone and drones everywhere. Any soldier has his own mobile phone and is making his own reportage, or is creating, in a way, a huge amount of images that contain truth also. And 2 years ago, I dedicated a festival to this phenomena, because I received more and more in our short film festival documentaries that are telling stories. And now the trend is that we receive a lot of film made by archives of any kinds. Can be family archive, can be war soldiers archive, or can be the things you find on the web, or the chat, or the video bloggers. Anybody can be, in a way, searching in the web and find a lot of material. What to do there when it comes to truth? Would you create for yourself the limit, or you just, what I believe, search for something true to tell and do something with such a beautiful, wonderful, amazing amount of material, of reality, but maybe you change it to a fictional thing, because the truth of yours, your story, is the most important. Of course, if you have a character, a real person, then you need to follow, as I said, the real person, for example, editing this material, and you analyze what is happening in his mind. Then it's, again, documentary. But I believe you need to be also very open-minded as a film director today, entering in such a world of beauty and insane filming. Anybody's filming.
Yeah,
Story boomers story boomers, if you search on the web, is the word that I created for this. Because anyone can create stories if they change it yourself.
I think you start with a project, and when I have it's like a project for 3 movies, Stone, Water, Flame, and so you have to have the same technique that you're using, and which is like animation. And animation is used because you can actually tell a lot of information in a very short space of time, rather than things that can't be created. You can use animation and interaction with animation in a film. The Whisperers was not animated, but it took 18 months in post-production. And there's like 10 layers throughout the film. You know, the guy, he's, you know, the editor, I picked the editor because I saw the film that he made. There's a fantastic documentary called My Winnipeg. And it's like this black and white movie from Winnipeg, and it looks like an Alfred Hitchcock movie. And this was a documentary of this writer saying about how he can't leave Winnipeg, and it was like, it blew me away. When I was at the same festival with one of my other films in Iceland. So I contacted him and then contacted his editor and said, I want a crazy editor like that. So when you know you're getting a crazy editor, then you know that you want to be pushing him to be making something very different. So you're starting with the idea of what you want. But of course, when you're working with documentary, things change. And then you have to develop in a way. So it was, he just multi-layered pictures and didn't make animation, which was great because I don't want you to see anything that I've done before. It's going to be different. It'll always be new. But that's the fantastic thing about being a filmmaker. You know, it's a hard job, but it's better than working.
Any more questions? Any more questions? Here's a question back there.
Thank you. It's for David Kinsella, and thank you both for 2 great films. It's great to have them at the festival. I wonder, how do you think it's a big problem if people don't believe that the content of your film are real? How do you feel about reaching them, or how do you think to reach them if they don't believe that the story is real? Is the question.
No, well, that's not what I want the audience to. I want the audience to be feeling the film, and to be taking it in and seeing it how it can relate to their lives, and in the end, the film became a universal story for all teenagers to see that, you know, the grass is not greener on the other side of the fence, that you have to take responsibility. So for me, it was to make the film where in the end, you as the audience have taken something away from it, rather than just. I don't make films called Me, Myself, and I. I make films that make you think, and make you a better person and change your life a little bit. That's my goal. I think if people go and go, that didn't look real, or that, you know, for me that's sad, because, you know, as I said, I didn't use actors, but she wanted to be an actor. She wanted to be playing her B-movie High School Musical that she sees on the Disney Channel. So, okay, let's make it that. Let's make kitsch. Let's give her exactly what she wanted and see if it actually changes her life, and changes her life that she actually understands how great her life really is. So, crazy amount of work, but in the end, it worked. And I have peace in my soul, and their family loved it. And but unfortunately, when you're not Sami and you make a Sami film, it's not very popular with the Sami people.
Big challenge. Congratulations.
Oh yeah, I know.
Do we have any more questions? And I think we're going to say that we're happy for now. Are we?
Thank you.
And thank you all for coming, and enjoy the rest of the festival.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.